poppin', homies? I hope you all are doing well. So today I want to talk about June and Jennifer Gibbons, and they are known as the Silent Twins. Now, June Gibbons, born April 11th, 1963. The nationality is British. Occupation, fiction author, and her parents were Gloria and Aubrey Gibbons, and the same as Jennifer Gibbons, but Jennifer died March 9th, 1993 at age 29, and her sister is to be at age 59. So June is still living. Jennifer is the one that passed away, and she also was a fiction author and British. Okay, so they're twins. Now we're gonna start with their early life. June and Jennifer were the daughters of Caribbean parents, Gloria and Aubrey Gibbons. Now the Gibbons family moved from Barbados to the United Kingdom in the early 1960s as part of the Windrush generation. Gloria was a housewife and Aubrey worked as a technician for the Royal Air Force. The couple also had two more daughters, Greta, who was born in 1957, and Rosie, who was born in 1967, and a son, David, born in 1959. Now, in 1960, Aubrey went to stay with a relative in the Coventry and soon qualified as a staff technician. Now, and Gloria followed with Greta and David several months later. The twins were born on the 11th of April 1963 at a military hospital, in Aden, where their father had been deployed. The family soon relocated first to England and in 1974 to Haverford, West Wales. The twin sisters were inseparable, and their language, a sped-up Bajan Creole, made it difficult for people to understand them. The family's children were the only black children in the community. All of the other children were often ostracized at school. Now, this proved to be traumatic for the twins, eventually causing their school administration to dismiss them early each day so they may, to avoid bullying. I really do hate that at that time things like that happened. I really do. Their language became even more dramatic at this time. Soon it was unintelligible to others because no one could understand them, so they thought they wasn't intelligent, and they thought that they couldn't speak proper English. But what they don't know, they was speaking Bajan Creole, but it was sped up so only those two could understand what they're saying. See, when people speak a different language and they don't know what you're talking about, or they can't understand it, they figure it doesn't make any sense. To you, it doesn't make any sense, but to them, it made perfect sense. Their language qualified as an example of cryptophasia, exemplified by the twins' simultaneously actions which often mirrored each other. The twins became increasingly reserved and eventually spoke to no one except each other and their younger sister, Rose. The girls continued to attend school, although they refused to read or write. In 1974, a medic administering vaccinations at the school noted their impassive behavior and notified a child psychologist. The twins began seeing a succession of therapists who tried unsuccessfully to get them to communicate with others. They were sent to separate boarding schools in an attempt to break their isolation, but the pair became, even more withdrawn entirely when they parted. And like I said, when people don't understand something and they can't control what's happening, they try to do things to break a situation. But these are twins. These are sisters, okay? They were going through something. And because they didn't speak to no one else, they felt like if we split them apart, one is going to talk. But that didn't happen. When they were reunited, the two spent several years isolating themselves in their bedroom. Engaged in elaborate plays with dolls, they created many plays and stories in a sort of soap opera style, reading some of them aloud on tape as gifts for their sister roles. Inspired by a pair of gift diaries on Christmas 1979, they began their writing careers. They sent away for a mail order course in creative writing, and each kept an extensive diary and wrote a number of stories, poems, and novels set primarily in the United States and particularly in Malibu, California. The stories involve young men and women who exhibit strange and often criminal behavior. Now, June, she wrote a novel titled Pepsi Cola Addict, in which the high school hero is seduced by a teacher, then sent away to a reformatory where a homosexual guard makes a play for him. The two girls pool together their unemployment benefits in order to get the novel published by a vanity press. This is the only accessible work by either of the Gibbons sisters, now available for purchase and held in only 5 libraries in the world. Their other attempts to publish novels and stories were unsuccessful. In Jennifer's book, hers was about a physician so eager to save his child's life that he kills the family dog to obtain its heart for a transplant. The dog's spirit lives on in the child and ultimately has its revenge against the father. Wow. Let me tell you something. These girls got, when I say creative, they got some creative ways of thinking in these stories. Jennifer also wrote Dyscomnia, the story of a young woman who discovers that the atmosphere of a local disco incites patrons to insane violence. She followed up with The Taxi Driver's Son, a radio play called Postman and Postwoman, and several short stories. June Gibbons is considered to be an outside writer. In their later teenage years, the teens began using drugs and alcohol. In 1981, the girls committed a number of crimes, including vandalism, petty theft, and arson, which led to their being admitted to Broadmoor Hospital, a high-security mental health hospital. The twins were sentenced to indefinite detention under the Mental Health Act 1983. They remained at the Broadmoor for 11 years. June later blamed this lengthy sentence on their selective muteness. Juvenile delinquents get 2 years in prison. We got 12 years of hell because we didn't speak. We lost hope. Really, I wrote a letter to the Queen asking her to get us out, but we were trapped. Placed on high doses of medications, and they found themselves unable to concentrate. Jennifer apparently developed tardive, dyskinesia, a neurological disorder resulting in involuntary repetitive movements. If I said that word wrong, please let me know in the comment section to correct me. Thank you. Their medications were apparently adjusted significantly to allow them to continue the copious diaries they had begun in 1980, and they were able to join the hospital choir, but they lost most of their interest in creative writing. The case achieved notoriety due to paper news coverage by the journalist Marjorie Wallace of the Sunday Times. Wallace later wrote a book about the two called The Silent Twins. It was published in 1986 by Princeton Hall. Jennifer's death. Now, according to Wallace, the girls had a long-standing agreement that if one died, the other must speak and live a normal life. Now, during their stay in the hospital, they began to believe that it was necessary for one of them to die. And after much decision, Jennifer agreed to make the sacrifice of her life. Now, in March of 1993, the twins were transferred from Broadmoor to the more open Caswell Clinic in Bridge End, Wales. On arrival, Jennifer could not be roused. She was taken to the hospital where she died soon after of acute myocarditis and sudden inflammation of the heart. There was no evidence of drugs or poison in her system, and her death remains a mystery. Now, at the inquest, June revealed that Jennifer had been acting strangely for about a day before their release. Her speech had been slurring, and she had said that she was dying. On the trip to Caswell, she had slept in June's lap with her eyes open. Wow. On a visit a few days later, Wallace recounted that June was in a strange mood. She said, "I'm free at last, liberated, and at last Jennifer has given up her life for me." She also described it as a tsunami, washing her of her sins and being free of her sister. Jennifer was in St. Martin's Cemetery. After Jennifer's death, June gave interviews with Harper's Bazaar and The Guardian. By 2008, she was living quietly and independently near her parents in West Wales. She was no longer monitored by psychiatrists, or even some type of psychiatric service, and has been accepted by her community and sought to put the past behind her. A 2016 interview with her sister Greta revealed that the family had been deeply troubled by the girls' incarceration. She blamed Broadmoor for running their lives and for ruining, their lives and neglecting Jennifer's health. She had wanted to file a lawsuit against Broadmoor, but Aubrey and Gloria refused, saying it would not bring Jennifer back. Now, in London, this was in the media. It says here the pair were the subject of the 1986 television drama The Silent Twins. It was broadcast on BBC Two, part of its Screen 2 series, and an inside story documentary, Silent Twins Without My Shadow, which aired on BBC One in September of 1994. A play based on Wallace's book titled Speechless debuted in London in 2011. The twin story also inspired in the 1998 Manic Street Preachers song Tsunami. Now, Polish filmmaker directed a feature film with the twins as the subject, starring actress Letitia Wright, based on the 1986 book The Silent Twins by Marjorie Wallace. It will be the director's English language debut. The film would be an international co-production between UK's 42 Management and Production and Poland's mandates, and backed by the Polish Film Institute. That's interesting. That is interesting. But yeah, this was quite a story. It's, this reminds me, if you guys watch Law and Order, and if you've seen the episodes where these twins were put in separate interrogating rooms, right? And each was being questioned, each was talking, being asked questions. And they both get up and go to the wall and put their hands against the wall. But when the camera backed away, it showed them both doing the same thing. To me, that episode always creeped me out. And the Silent Sisters remind me of that episode with those twins. And here's again, the twins didn't want to speak to anyone, and so they did not. People felt they were strange. They were sent to a psychiatrist to find out why they're not talking. They had their own language, and because no one understood it but them, they thought they wasn't talking correctly, or it was a unintelligent language, which it wasn't to them. You get what I'm saying? And sometimes to this day, when people don't understand what you're saying, or you speak in a different language, they feel like, okay, you know what, she's just talking stupid or crazy. And it's not that. It's not that. I don't think these girls were crazy at all. They just had their own way of living. And so now Jennifer has passed on and June is still living. I just want to share this story with you guys because I didn't know if you heard about it. And I just thought, let me take a break from the news for a little bit and let's talk about this. Because I've always been intrigued with this story. And I just want to share it with you guys. So let me know in the comment section if you heard about this and how did you feel about these girls. And I'll talk to you later. Well, they're women now, but Jennifer has passed away. How do you feel about the Gibson twins? Let me know in the comment section. And one more thing before I get out of here. I want to ask you guys a question. Why is it that something that we don't understand or we may not know, why do we feel it's strange? You get what I'm saying? If it's not familiar to us and we don't understand it, why do we always say that's strange or that's strange behavior instead of taking the time to understand what's going on? I would love to hear your thoughts about that. Let me know in the comment section, and you guys have a good one. Bye.